Greetings, all. Well, it's taken me a while, but if nature hands you a lemon, squeeze that thing and make lemonade, right? We got a lot of rain around here, and I know when we first looked at buying property in this area, I said, well, the climate's pretty good all in all. It's one of the better places I've seen, but it is awful wet, much wetter than most places I've been before. Rainfall here is definitely over 120 inches a year, upwards towards 150. So I looked at it, I said, well, it's a great place for at least three things I can think of. One was nursery stock because it requires irrigation and it's in small containers, so rain is good. The other was, of course, ducks. Ducks love water, right? And the final, of course, was fish. And I had thoughts in my mind of actually getting a backhoe in here, digging trenches across the field, lining them with EPDM rubber, and catching water and so on, and really raising a lot of fish. I backed off from that. This project is, mostly for retirement here, and I don't need to start a full-scale fish farm. But I'm still into fish. When I was a boy, I raised tropical fish. As I got older and learned to ride a motorcycle and met girls, I didn't care about the fish anymore. So my stepfather took over the project, and he used to raise and breed, actually, angelfish, discus fish, and Oscars. And when I got a driver's license and owned a truck, I used to drive around on garbage day and pick up every broken fish tank in town. I would bring them home, put them in the garage, knock out the broken glass, repair them, give them to Ed, and he had two walls in a room in the basement completely filled with tanks and fish because of that. Later on, when I lived in Wisconsin, we dug a 2.5-acre fish pond on the place, stocked it. While living in California, I ran Navale's nursery in Fremont, and there we started selling koi fish, fish pond supplies, you name it, filters and whatnot. And so I have a history with all this. When we closed down the store, I brought all the koi fish home to my house in Fremont. And so on. And so we decided we're going to start setting up some ponds here. So the first pond we set up here was a 300-gallon stock tank by Rubbermaid. A very durable thing. These are designed to be run into by pigs, horses, bulls, and so on. We turn around and we plumbed it into the roof. And so I'm using roof water as catchment for the pond. Here you can see the downspout. It's 3-inch PVC. Feeds the tank. And then there's a siphon, typical of most catchment systems over there on the other end. You can see Ellen's beautiful white tropical water lilies. Well, then the other day, I tunneled across the front yard, and I set up a second pool over here. And so we're teed into the roof, and that one's being fed too. We haven't got enough rain since I set it up to be able to actually get any water into it. But it's, again, another 300-gallon stock tank from Rubbermaid. Very durable. They have drain plugs in the bottom for cleaning them out and so on. So the reason I like to go with above-ground pools, I have done in-ground pools and ponds and even small lakes in the past, and obviously it works. But there are some disadvantages. One, an above-ground pool is a lot easier to set up. You don't have to dig a hole. All you got to do is level the grade before it goes down. The above-ground pools are easier to fix if there's any kind of a leak or a breach. They're also a lot easier to drain and clean out because they're above grade. This is not attached to anything. I can even, disconnect the pipe and flip it over if I want to wash it out. I've had to clean fish ponds numerous times over the years, especially if you're trying to raise fish as a food source. There's going to be a lot of waste in there. Okay, so being able to clean the pond out is a real advantage. It's one reason I like above grounds. They're durable, again, easy to install, easy to move around. They're not particularly permanent. If I decide to change my plan, I just drag them somewhere else, you know. Also, here, my thoughts on the subject were that in other locations like California, when I started to get a good population of fish in a pool, I had to have filtration systems. We needed biofilters in order to keep the water from becoming contaminated with ammonia. Otherwise, the fish become sick in their own waste. Well, here in Hawaii, I had thought that with the large amount of rainfall recharge we have here, that filtration of the ammonia out of the water may not be required, because the water is coming off the roof and flushing through this basically just like a hole in a stream. You know, it's got a constant freshwater recharge. Well, we experimented for about a year with the water plant tank over here that's got Ellen's water plant collection, and it seems to have proved out pretty much that the water quality maintains in this area without filtration. So, set up this pool here, and we're going to start going with fish. I think in Ellen's pond we'll probably add a couple of koi for fun, and then the one here behind me, I have a lady bringing by a bucket of tilapia fry. I never liked the taste of tilapia until I came to Hawaii, and here I ate the local fish that have been grown with so much water recharge that the water was much better condition than most of the imported tilapia, and the fish actually tasted good. They tasted fine. I had no problem with them. Otherwise, they tend to taste like mud, as far as I'm concerned. And so the tilapia kind of tastes like what they grow in, really, I think. It's true with a lot of fish. So I decided that the water was suitable here for this. And now as I move into the project, and if I don't start to have any stumbling blocks, which I don't anticipate, I'm probably going to look at the potential of raising Asian catfish, and probably going to look at prawns, freshwater prawns. This may come up as we add more tanks. I have lots more water up on the roof that I am currently not catching, only dispensing into the landscape. In the sense of aquaponics, I do not intend to set up a hydroponic system that's plumbed directly into these fish ponds. Instead, what I plan to do is that just as the excess water is discharged in the landscape from the pools carrying the nutrients, I'm just going to divert it to some crops that will make use of it. It seems to me an easier way to regulate nutrient problems when you're dealing with aquaponics. I have a real problem with the math and trying to get plants and fish balanced all the time. Don't want to mess with it. Don't want to mess with it. So we're using, basically it's an aquaponic system, but it's far more wide open, not specific. Just flooding the nutrients out in the landscape, the plants will grow. It's that simple. Probably plant myself an orange tree in the effluent or something on that order. So there you have it. The beginning of the Green Garden Guys aquaculture project here in Hawaii. Probably would have started sooner, but time is basically it. Time and energy. Things have finally slowed down here and gotten organized enough that I can worry about things like fish ponds. You know, wasn't as essential initially. Fish is abundant here in Hawaii. We have lots of fishermen. We're surrounded by water, and so there is no shortage of fish here. Although freshwater fish are rare. It's mostly saltwater stuff. We really don't have too much for freshwater lakes, creeks, or rivers or stuff here that will support, any game fish. Anyway, you have it. I'll continue posting as the pond fills and later when we begin to add the fish and the project develops. Aloha. Y'all have a great new year, huh? And hang loose, please.